What's up, y'all? This is the Adapt or Die podcast, a podcast that explores new and relevant ideas for the purposes of self-growth and helping you live a more fulfilled lifestyle. My name is Armel Tala.
And my name is Ben Smith. We're two university students pursuing our own journeys of self-growth with the hopes of sharing our findings with you.
Welcome back to another episode of the Happiness series. And this one, I feel like resonates with Ben the most, just because the first time I met Ben, this was like one of the things he kept emphasizing to me. He was like, yo, dude, I know you hustling, but like you got to remember the people around you. You got to remember to build good relationships, because that's the key to happiness. And so this time on the Happiness series, we're going to be exploring what, Ben?
Yeah, we're going to go over four major things. An emphasis on strong relationships. We're going to go over how interacting with strangers is helpful for happiness.
Mm-hmm. Stranger danger, but
the importance of like giving to others,
yeah,
and then how technology affects our relationships and our happiness subsequently. So
and I feel like as a CS major, I'm gonna have to defend the technology side. No, I'm kidding. But okay, I think so. To start it off, relationships and happiness. Like people get this. We understand that like relationships is important for our, like because the people you're around is gonna kind of base kind of how your day goes. But like I think we also take it for granted a lot of times. Like I myself I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I do take it for granted. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm just gonna stay inside, chill. Like,
and staying inside and like chilling is not like a bad thing at all. Mm-hmm. But I think what we're missing is we're not prioritizing relationships in the way that we should be. So I want to give you a study that was done it's a 75-year study. Mm-hmm. And basically what they did is they studied 724 men over the course of their entire lifetime. So one group started when they were about like 10 or so, and then the other group started when they were sophomores at Harvard. And so it was a Harvard study. He's done, the guy who oversees it, his name is Robert Waldinger. He's actually the fourth director of the study, because like that's how long the study has been going.
I remember hitting on this, like looking up this guy, his research, and he was saying like it's been going on for, I think he said like 700 years or something, like
75 years.
No, 700. I was like 700. That's insane. I don't even know who's been along, but no, like 75 years, and just like that amount of people.
That it's unheard of to have studies like last that long, just because like, the funding will dry up. Like if the director or like if they lose interest in the study, like, if 20 years passes, like that's not enough time to analyze people and their whole life entirety and their happiness. Like you need their whole life really to understand it. And
I think they said still 60 out of the original 724
are still alive today.
And they're still answering those questions, and they're still, getting interviewed and things like that.
Yeah. So because I haven't given like what the study was about. So so let's, basically what they did was they interviewed, like you said, they interviewed these guys every 2 years, and they did more than just interview them. They had access to their medical records. So anytime they went to the doctor, any surgeries, anything that was like very private, they had all of that access. They interviewed their kids, their wives. They videoed them talking to their wives about like their deepest, darkest fears. Like it was very, very in depth.
I do want to make a side note. Like that part was really weird to me. I was like, how were they just like, how did that part? Did you do any research on like how that part came? Like
I didn't do like a bunch of research specifically on how that part became important.
But that was interesting. Like they really got deep.
But they got really deep because they wanted to know the person, not just ask them like, how are you? Like,
how are you feeling today? The typical survey, like just to emphasize, like this study it's intense.
It was
they almost know, like they were practically friends with these people.
Like they actually became like so close to these people that they actually had their wives join the study like midway through, because and their wives were like, finally, we're basically part of the study. You know what I mean? But let me give you the results of the study. So the first thing they found was that just social connection in general is so good for your health. And they found that loneliness just like it kills you. And not just like for your mental health, but for your physical health as well. And one of the most interesting stats that I saw from the study was that the number one predictor of longevity, physical health, mental health, and overall well-being for across the entire study was the strength of one's relationships at midlife. So at like age 50. And that's when they were predicting like longevity, like health, all those things. It was stronger than any other medical condition, like any wealth, location, like every single factor was considered.
Yeah.
And your relationships with others was the strongest correlator of your well-being, physical, mental.
Which, you saying
keep going.
It's well-being of physical, mental, and health. But I want us to like kind of just hit on that. Maybe like before you explain why it might have like, let's talk about like why would, and out of all things, right? When people think like, yo, relationships, like how is it gonna affect my health, my physical, my mental, and like my financial? Like how is me interacting with someone gonna help that? Like I get the mental health side, but how does it help my physical? And I guess do you want to give your theory first?
Yeah. So scientifically, I do not have like an evidence-based reason, but I can give you my theory. So here's what I think.
Let's talk about our theories.
Yeah. I strongly believe that your mental, your mindset, your psyche is of the utmost importance in determining really like everything about your health, your daily life, and things like that. We've talked about that in terms of habits and things like that before.
Yeah.
But let's say like when you're in a strong relationship, you know that you have someone to fall back on. You know that you have someone that is there with you, and that security in life, I think it gives you a lightness and a sense of well-being that really propagates from your mental, your mindset, through your physical health and everything else into your life. So your daily life becomes much easier to bear. And one thing they found that kind of illustrates this is that when the patients were older, probably like 70s and 80s, and like they're getting ailments as you do when you age, on the days that people who had very strong relationships, on the days that they were in immense physical pain, their emotional pain was no different, or like their emotional like state was no different, and their happiness was not affected at all. But those who did not have strong relationships, when they were going through immense physical pain, or even just not that bad physical pain, it amplified them to the effect that they had immense emotional pain as well, because they were lonely. They had no one to rely on and no one to fall back on to take care of them. And so what we're seeing is that your relationships with others is absolutely necessary for all aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And that's so important to me.
That makes sense. And like, I want to say, because what I'm hearing is kind of like with the whole point of they're being in physical pain, but those that were having good relationships, they mentally, emotionally, they still felt just as happy. It's like they're building your relationships kind of strengthen your emotional toughness, your emotional, intelligence, and we'll probably talk about that later if people don't know what emotional intelligence is. But kind of a rundown, it's like you have your IQ, like how smart you are, but emotional intelligence is kind of like how are you able to control your emotions? How do you react when someone when things happen? That's just emotional intelligence. But so it sounds like it helps strengthen your emotional intelligence and things like that. And so in order for like when those bad things happen, like you don't react as negatively, because really all it takes is like if your back's hurting. I know like if I roll my ankle, like I just recently rolled my ankle, like and I'm in a bad mood, it's just gonna like it's easily just gonna ruin that day for me. It's like yo like you know what I'm saying.
I understand. Yeah.
But on my theory on kind of like why it might directly affect your physical and like everything outside of your life, like why you would see like your mental health being affected by relationships, right? We people can see that obvious correlation, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Right? So it's like an obvious correlation, good relationships, good mental health. But then how is that correlated to physical? And the way I see it is like when you have solid relationships with people, right? You have like an understanding, like we'll define what good relationships are the next week. But like when you have solid relations, like you have people that helping you grow, that want to see you succeed, that want the best for you, that's going to naturally, they're going to want the best for you, right? So they're naturally going to be like, maybe you should eat healthier, right? So if you have good people around you, they're going to encourage you to eat healthier.
Definitely.
Or even if like they don't encourage you to eat healthier, like just because you value that relationship with that person so much, it's going to push you to be like, I want to be in the best shape, I want to be around for my kids, I want to be around. So it's like in a way, you having those good relationships is a motivation to do better in the rest of your life. Because I know personally, when people tell me like, yo, Armel, you're really doing things, like regardless of what it is, and
it means a lot to you.
It means a lot, and it motivates me more. So I can see how like I'm really starting to get how the relationship part really does push you.
And think about like when you're doing things in life, like everything is relative, but it's especially relative to other people. You know what I mean? Like your wealth is relative to everyone else's wealth. You're only wealthy because you have more money than everyone else, not because like $1 million is a lot. It's because it's a lot more than most people have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so in that way, like you're basically comparing yourself to everyone else, generally speaking, in every aspect of your life. So if you're very, like, we do that because we're social creatures. And I'm going to emphasize this. We absolutely need, like, to be social. Like, it's like drinking food or water. Like, it is just the same. Like, it's not a desire. It is a necessity to, like, be social with others. So when we have good relationships, we're fulfilling, like, that part of our core need that's going to propagate through our whole health. And so that's really, like, the key. And like you said, like, it affects your health in all of those different ways because all those reasons that you said, you know what I mean? So I know this is, like, really important to me, like you said earlier, but it's like, it's such a hard, like, point that we often put our relationships aside for other things. And it's okay, you know, if you want to focus on your career, if you want to do, like, all these things, like go ahead and do them. Just make sure that, like, your relationships don't fall by the wayside, you know?
And there's ways to keep balance.
Exactly. There's
definitely ways to keep balance, but keep on telling us more about this study, though. This is interesting. I know you probably have more about the results.
I mean, like, honestly, like, those are the main things. That, like, relationships, like, that's, like, I don't know, when you think about that, like, based on this study, if you wanted to live the longest, you wouldn't eat the best or sleep the most or exercise the most. What you would do is actually find the people who make you the happiest and that you can rely on. And according to this study, like, that would give you the highest chance of living the longest. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I do. I get what you're saying on that point, but let's not tell people that you don't got to eat the best and sleep the no. Like, you do have to do those things, but I think what this study is more showing is that when you have those good people around you and, like, understanding, like, what is the difference between a good, let's understand two guys. There's a difference between keeping on to good relationships and cutting off toxic, and we will 100% define that next week.
The next series.
The next series, our relationship series. But it's like keeping those good relationships are going to just kind of naturally encourage you to do all the things that are good for you. Either it's because those people around you are going to push you, or you're just going to feel like you want to do it for them, right?
Right.
So it's like this good back and forth system. And I think one thing that I pulled, that I really took out from this, from the TED Talk that Robert gave, his name is Robert, right? Yeah.
Robert Waldinger. He's from Harvard, Yeah.
So the one thing I pulled from the talk that Robert gave was building relationship is a lifelong task, right? And that's, like, the biggest thing out of everything he said. He's like, because the conclusion seems pretty simple. It's like, good relationships. And I mean, obviously he pulled up data, like we said, was pretty interesting, like, at least of not just mental, but physical and financial and whatever. But it's like we ignore this simple advice because we want quick fix. And as you can see in my notes, as Ben's looking at my notes, like, it's in bold.
He has it bolded in all caps. Bolded all caps. So y'all know.
Bolded in all caps, because building relationships is a lifelong task. It's not something that, like, it's like, oh, like, I got a friend, me and Ben are friends, and so, like, that's it. Me and Ben have a good relationship today.
Right.
Something might happen where me and Ben might be fighting in, like 5 weeks or something, and, like, I don't want to talk to him and stuff, but, like, it's a lifelong task. It's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong, like, responsibility of you having to work on your relationships. And that's where people miss the point. It's like, it's not just you establish a relationship and then that's it.
Right.
You have to establish it and continue to try to grow it and nurture it and keep it,
Two solid things. I'm going to bring in a quote here. I know you love quotes.
Yeah, love quotes. Love quotes. Those put them on my wall.
You don't get a second chance to make new old friends. Okay.
I gotta interpret that a little bit. Say that again.
You don't get a second chance to make new old friends. Okay. You can't make new old friends. It's not possible.
True. It's very hard to just be like, hey, let's start over. Like,
it doesn't work. Yeah. No. Like, once your friends are like if you've cut people off. Not that, I mean, if you need to cut people off, I'm just saying, like, if you don't have old friends, like, you and really old friends, I say that as a good thing, because the number one, like when they said strong relationships, to define what that means, a strong relationship was essentially, can I count on you and to what extent? So if I can count on someone to the greatest extent, like almost with my life, like I trust that person to like hold me like down, like build me up, like do anything for me, that is a strong relationship. Okay? So when you're having old friends, like that is much more likely to give you that strength. And so when I say you can't make new old friends, like, you're going to have ups and downs in relationships, and there's no one's perfect. So like, it's important to be like forgiving and interact with people in a manner that's understanding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you, like I said, you can't make new old friends. I thought that was a really good quote. It's actually from a country song.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a little bit, mind-boggling to kind of, wrap my head around that. But
Yeah.
but so no, we're talking about relationships, right? Building when people, new old friends and whatever. But you brought up a point like saying that strangers, also interacting with strangers, would help.
Yeah,
Like
this was the most surprising thing to me.
How does interacting with strangers help our happiness? Because like we're told stranger danger, stay away. But like, but this has to do with adults, right? Of course, like we're not telling little kids to go interact with strangers, but
right.
So how is an adult interacting with just some random person going to make them happier?
So this kind of goes back. So like the study, I can give you the study details if you want, but generally speaking, like we know that we are social creatures. Mm-hmm. Okay, like we are very social creatures.
Side note, I do want the study details.
You don't want the study details?
You can explain it first.
And so the study doesn't really go over exactly like the brain science of how this works, because it's a very like complicated thing, and I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
But I can tell you with certainty, that interacting with others like strangers. And very small, and just maybe it's just a 2-minute conversation on the elevator, or you talk to the barista at Starbucks, like in a way that like you actually connect with them. It's so good for your mental health and it actually makes you happy, and it's such a counterintuitive thing to me.
Can you explain like?
Just
run through
think about so basically what the study they did is they got a bunch of people. And they separated them into 2 groups.
Yeah.
Okay. And the first group, they told them, okay, just go on this train. So there was just a train, and they were just sending this group onto a train. And they said, just go about your daily, like however you would normally go on a train. Like if you get on your phone, read a book, whatever it is, just do that.
Yeah.
And then, And then the second group, they said, okay, we want you to go out of your way to try to talk to someone. Just talk to them, like just see how they're, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And afterwards, they found that the people who talked to other people had a far better experience and were much happier after their train ride than the people who just sat on their phone or read a book or whatever it was. And that was really interesting, mainly because the people who were reading books or on their phones, they thought for sure that they would be happier doing that than talking to a stranger. And the people who were talking to strangers, they also thought that talking to a stranger would make their day worse, but it doesn't. And because it's so counterintuitive, it makes it really interesting because like we all think like, well, how would that work? And we really, I just don't know.
Let's ponder on this. Let's because we did that last time. We're like, okay, why would having relationships, make your outside of your mental, your physical, and everything else be better? But so how do you think that talking to strangers it helps your happiness, right? Or I could go first if you want.
You go first. I want to hear your theory.
If I had to just ponder a little bit why talking to strangers, right? So because I'm a pretty outgoing person. I'll talk to
He's
someone
very outgoing,
if they start a conversation. I'll randomly just be like, hey, you look beautiful today, So just things like that. Just because I know well, actually, I realized this in the elevator. I try to tell people, at least if we have some type of just the smallest interaction. If I have the smallest interaction where they ask me, hey, what floor number are you, what number are you going to, right? 2, right? You're going to go up. So,
right.
But so I try to always tell them, have a good day at the end. Like, I try to, if I have, just enough interaction with them where it's not just, a random, have a good day, and then walk out, right? So it's, I try to do that because I know, even that little thing, ooh, someone told me that, have a good day. That could change someone's whole entire day. Maybe it's not that, every single interaction you have with a stranger, because I'll admit, some interactions I have with strangers don't do anything. It's not, a negative, it's not a positive. It's just,
right.
Whatever, right? But I think it's, those times where it's, the sum of all, the little good ones really does add up, because having one person tell you, you have a nice smile, oh, I like your shirt, oh, making that small talk to start it may be the difference in their whole day. Maybe it may be the catalyst that starts their day off they were having a bad day, and then the rest of the day becomes better just because they had that one simple interaction. I don't feel maybe it's not every single interaction you have with a stranger is going to improve your happiness by each time.
Yeah. But
it's those one out of every 5 times, or one out of every few times that you do, you're gonna come across someone that's interesting. Because I know I've come across some strangers, I'm like, yo, what stories do you okay, story time real quick. Remember when when we were setting up the podcast, we went to Walmart and we were trying to get stuff for the
my god, this dude.
We were trying to get stuff to set it up, and we're getting all these things that you see here. and we're getting looking for paint because our friend is the one that painted Jen. She painted this poster with the AOD in the back. Shout out to Jen. And this random dude comes up and he just starts spitting mad facts about art.
And hold on, he was low-key dripping too. Like he was iced out. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I think he had a cane too. I think boy had a cane.
Yeah, he was kind of an older dude.
Yeah, and he had a nice watch and it was
nice
like
watch. I think he had like some nice. Yeah, he had a nice necklace. I think like he earrings.
He was a successful artist.
Yeah,
and he told us like, what colors are you gonna use? Don't use that. Don't use this.
Wait,
and
now I think about it, why was he at Walmart?
Yo, Walmart is for everybody. Here's the thing:
rich
people don't. Rich. It don't matter. Rich people still act like they broke, but that's a whole different story. But like. And it's the simple fact, like, even though, like, there was a point where the conversation, they get a bit annoying because he just kept talking and talking. Like, at first it was very interesting and it was funny. And it made my day. Like, it made my day. So, just, like, things like that, like, you may come across, I think it's not about every single conversation with a stranger, but it's about just those few ones can really be, like, the catalyst that changes someone's day.
And I want to, so you said that like maybe like only one in a few would like, so what they found in the study is that the far majority of your interactions with strangers will be very positive. There are only a few that go bad. And I think we have that idea that the interactions with strangers will not be that good is because when you think about who's approaching you on the street, like you generally don't approach other people, right? So a lot of times when you're approached, it might be a panhandler or someone that like you're kind of like already put off because it's like, oh, like, and so that might put you off more because you're not really approaching people. And most of the time when you approach just like the average person, like they're very receptive and very open to having conversations with you. Yeah. And I think that like one of the things that it's just my idea is like a hypothesis, but we kind of have like an epidemic of loneliness going on like in our like current like
especially with the pandemic.
In our modern era, yeah. Especially with the pandemic. And I think it's just like connecting with people, even if it's just like 1 to 2 minutes, reminds us that like how many people there are out there and how many people are just like you. Because we often think about our circle as being the only people that really exist. But when we talk to strangers, we remember that like everyone is really just like us, fundamentally speaking. You know what I mean? And I think it really puts into perspective like we're all here together, like most people are good, like whatever. And that social interaction is very helpful in just improving your happiness and realizing your place in the world.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would say like most people that you'll come across will be very open. Of course, like there's very few that's just like, unless they're having an absolutely horrible day, right? And like if you are to start a conversation with someone, you're gonna start a conversation with something that can like bounce like, oh, I like your shirt. Where'd you get that from? Like, and if you guys do like the shirts that we're wearing on the AOD podcast, you can purchase it at AODfashion.com. Sorry, a shameless plug-in, but yeah, back on. So okay, so strangers, right? So the study's made. Like, we can talk to strangers. That's great and all. But like, I guess my question to you is maybe what's one of like the most interesting interactions you've had with a stranger?
Okay, this is probably about like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was at Clark Field like I was getting a workout outside, and so I'm like in the middle of my workout, and this guy walks up to me, and he's like this 20-year-old like Indian dude, like he seemed like just regular ass dude. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And he starts talking to me. He's like, hey bro, like what's your name, whatever. And he starts just like asking me questions like as I'm doing like push-ups, like I'm like clearly in the middle of something, like, and I'm like, at first I was very annoyed. I was like, okay, I'm trying to get my workout in, like why does he keep talking to me, like whatever. And then we started like sitting down, and like, he was like, yo, you go here? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I'm from Cedar Boulder. And I was like, wait, you're from that's from Colorado, like why are you, what do you, and he was like, yeah, I live in Austin. Yeah, he was a junior at
CU Boulder.
Boulder.
I know. Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, but I live at Castilian, which is an apartment here, like not too far from UT, and UT's in Austin. So like Colorado, Austin, like why is he living in Austin when he goes to? And he was like, oh, I just like the weather here better. And I was like, and so we start talking, and like we had like a half-hour conversation, like honestly. And I was like, at first I was annoyed. I was like, I got my workout, like I got things to do. But then we started talking, and it was just like it was a very interesting conversation. He was a very strange dude. Yeah. But I enjoyed it, like honestly. It was very fun, like, and it actually made my day better because I was like, wow, like that was so nice. And like I've never seen him again, but like it was just a cool conversation. And I was like chilling. I was like, yo, that's crazy.
For sure. And I think you brought up the interesting point too, like the people that do reach out, like since most people don't reach out, and I'm the type to reach out as well. It's like it's it's fun when you reach out to someone. They're just kind of like what the, and then you're able to just kind of like chop it up with them. You're like, you know, going back and forth like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, how's your day going, blah blah blah. I think that's so cool. I think that's actually super cool. But so we can talk to strangers, we can build good relationships, but then so like what else can make us happy?
So the last thing that we're going to go over today is actually how giving to others affects your happiness. And I think this is just as important as having strong relationships. So talking with strangers is kind of like a sub point. It's like, yes, that will make you happier, but it's not like a focus. You know, I would say like relationships, that's a focus, and this, helping others, should absolutely be a focus. Okay, so
I can 100% understand how helping others is like will make you happier, because I'm thinking about like, if my little sister listens to this, I'm thinking about getting my little sister an iPad. So either it's going to be a surprise or she's going to know. We're going to see how real she is. But so like, and just thinking about like how I think that's going to help her so much, and just like know what me and my little sister have been through, like just thinking like, oh, I'm going to get her this, like I know. And then when she's going off to college too, and you know how many times I've complained like, yo, an iPad. I'm looking at Ben's iPad right now, jealous. An iPad would be so nice, especially with school and college, writing notes and things. So like, I'm already thinking about how when I give it to her, how happy she's gonna be, the smile she's gonna have. Like that's already making me happy. So like, I'm looking forward to that. So little sis Kezia, if you listening, I ruined the surprise. But if you're not, then it's a surprise.
Yeah, I mean you're absolutely right. Like when you say that, and to give you like an illustration of this, in a study, just because like, you know, I like studies. Basically what they did is, a woman by the professor named Elizabeth Dunn, she's from Harvard as well. She did a study where basically they gave strangers $150, and they told them, go spend it on yourself. They did that to half the people. And the other half of the people, they said, same money, go spend it on someone else. And then afterwards, they asked them, like, how did you feel afterwards? Like, you know, all these questions, surveys, whatever. Because like that's the only way we can really measure happiness. Yeah. It's very hard to measure, but and they asked them, and they found that the people who were buying things for other people enjoyed and like were far happier than the people who were buying things for themselves. And I think that's a really interesting distinction, because not only does buying things and giving to others make you happier, but it actually makes you more happier than doing things for yourself, generally speaking. You know what I mean? And that's such a interesting like thing as well, because like what she was saying, and I listened to a podcast of hers, she was saying like, if you want to improve your day, maybe the best thing to do isn't to, you know, go buy yourself some food, or like, you know, do whatever you want for yourself, but maybe it's to buy your best friend, you know, do something nice for them, or just find a random person off the street, or maybe just tip the hair lady at like $20. Like doing those things might actually improve your day far more than anything you could do for yourself. And that's a really like key point. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
You know, you could see them smile, and like seeing someone else smile makes you smile. And I don't know, because like you said, you talked about, we'll hit on more of the hedonic effect. Is that what it's called?
Hedonic adaptation. Yeah.
Hedonic adaptation. You talked about like when we buy something, it's like it loses a lot of you know, happiness for us. But like when you buy someone else something and you get that memory of like, oh man, I did this and they were smiling, I did that, and you know, like they had a really good day and it changed their whole day. And you just think more about like, even though the use cases for them, like how happy they are each time they may use, like I'll use my sister, the iPad for my sister as an example. She may not, like, you know, like a month or 2 months later, like she's not as super excited as when she first got it, right? She's just using over and over again. For me, I'll still remember like
every time you see her using the iPad, like you're like,
it's gonna make you happy, because like it's still relatively new, because you're not using that iPad every time. But every time you see her, every time I see her, it's gonna be like, oh wow, like, you know, she's using it, like it's really helpful. Like I'm happy I was able to bring value in that. But talking iPads and technology, right? So nice little transition.
I think we're gonna have to move that to next episode, honestly.
Let's finish it now.
Let's finish it. Okay, well, we can run through it real quickly. Basically, you know how I am with technology. But since the turn of probably this century, we've had huge technological developments in terms of smartphones, and just having so much access. Yeah. And so I want to go over quickly how much our attention is being taken away to an extent that's far like greater than I even really thought about. And so a good analogy that I found was, imagine you're at dinner with a friend, right? And instead of your iPhone, you just have this wheelbarrow. You have this wheelbarrow of stuff, and it's just like CDs of like, you know, like funny cat videos, like all of your emails, like anything, all of your assignments from school, like literally like just documents, like a wheelbarrow full of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
That wheelbarrow would be distracting to you, right? Like if you had that sitting next to you as you're eating, you'd naturally want to be like, oh, like I kind of want to look at these papers, like I kind of want to watch these videos, like,
yeah.
And that's what your phone is. Even when you're not using your phone, it's constantly distracting you, like all the time.
It's constantly trying to get your attention.
And it's always buzzing, trying to like grab your attention, whether it's social media, you know, whatever it is, right? And so that really takes away from our relationships, because if we're constantly thinking about what we can do on our phone, then we're not thinking about the people that we're with, right? And we're not thinking about, you know, especially if you're on your phone in line, you're not going to talk to the barista at Starbucks, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're with like your friend, let's say you're waiting in a car in your Uber and your friend's with you, you should probably just talk to your friend instead of being on your phone, because like, what are you doing on your phone anyways? That's so important. Like you're probably just watching like highlights of like basketball or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like we're missing that key aspect of like just being engaged with someone so much of the time, and I think it's really detracting from our social relationships.
And please, like, definitely dive deeper into this. Like, I know we know time is a constraint, but I think this is a topic that's important for people. But I do want to add on to the fact that like maybe so it might be it's an unconscious thing as well too. Like even though you sit there and you're like, I want to, I'm at dinner with my friend, and like I'm paying attention to what they're saying.
Right.
Like, in the back of your mind, even for me, this happens a lot. Like something will just pop up, be like, ooh, I need to check that email. Like, ooh, I need to check Instagram. Like, you know, I need to post something for, you know, the Adapt or Die podcast. I need to post something for, you know, whatever. And so like, even though you yourself, you want to be present in the moment, there's times like we've just naturally been building the habit of constantly checking our phones and everything, that it's just been like it's planted in the back of our minds.
And when we're so like entrenched into what we do, like think about like you know, over the summer, right, we're not gonna live in the same place. If I just cold called you on like a Tuesday and you were like just like chilling in your room, wouldn't you almost feel like your pride, like you'd be like, why is Ben calling me? Like what, like isn't it feel like almost like your privacy's been invaded? Like you feel like you're like, why is, like, who would do that? Who would cold call me like that? Like
I don't know.
Maybe we're close enough that it's not that weird. But like, think about someone who's like,
if it was like a random person that calls me, I'm always just like, why is this person calling me? Like,
but that wasn't weird like that long ago. Like it really wasn't. I know for us we're younger, but like the idea that you would just call someone and see how they're doing is not like like, you know what I mean? Like we think that's like a crazy, like we're like, why would we do that? Like and I always say this, I really don't like text. Like I only use text for like plans, like, you know, like where are we going? Cool. What time? Bam. Like that's it. You know what I mean? Like text, you miss the facial expressions, you miss the body posture, the voice inflection. Like 80% of your communication that you're communicating with not your words is just lost over text. So it's like, at least calling someone gives you that voice inflection, that kind of like that tone, like, and it gives you a lot more communication than just how are you, like over text. You know what I mean?
I do want to make the counter argument though about like the calls though, is if someone like not random, but like someone I know kind of well, like that I'm not like best friends with, but I know, and they call me straight up, like either I'm thinking, why is this happening? And I'm gonna pick up just because like if I know them and it's like a call, I'd be like, it must be an emergency or something. But at the same time, it's just like, a lot of times you could text me ahead of time. So I will say, like, there's times and stuff where it's like, you know, the whole phone call thing. But like, you're right though, that in today's, like, I don't like text as much either. Like, I'm a FaceTime. Let's
definitely FaceTime.
Let's at least send a voice memo, because like at least when I'm hearing your voice, I get to pick up on the, you know, the tone.
Subtle things, right?
Yeah, you get to pick up the tone and stuff like that. Where I think a big problem in our society that feel like it just ruins a lot of relationships is just like people don't actually know how to communicate with each other if it's not like a bit it's almost like forced. Like texting forces you to have a bit more artificial conversations, just because like, why do we need to be talking every single second of the day?
Right. Like, and another thing, like, we're missing, like, our biology, like, we have not adapted, like, evolutionarily to like feel totally satisfied by communicating through like a few words over text. You know what I mean? Like, we are meant to see each other, to like interact and like move with each other. You know what I mean? And so we're missing that part of communication that really gives us a feeling of closeness, of like bonding with someone.
Yeah.
And so we're not building those deep relationships when you're just texting someone.
Right.
So it's like, I really do feel like technology, it can help us in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we're not going to get rid of it. But I think just being aware of how distracting it can be, just by having it with you.
Yeah.
Like literally just having it in your pocket, not even doing anything, is distracting. And then B, like how we could actually use it instead of, texting, how we could actually use it to our benefit. You know what I mean?
There's definitely ways, like when these technologies come out, again, guys, I said I'm the comp sci major, so I do have to, present my points here. But when these technologies first came out, of course, they're all for, they were all to add value to our lives and simplify and make things much easier. Without Google, I don't know what I'd be doing. Without text, sometimes I don't need to be texting you like, hey, call, bring, what's the address? You could just text me that, right? So there's things where like these made life easier, where it was just some things could be done better and faster and more efficient. But I guess what happened was like, those things came out, they're first introduced, we adopted them, we took them, we fell in love with the product so much,
and we've taken it to a whole new level.
But I feel like our generation, this generation,
especially us,
we're realizing like this is becoming something that's more aware, where soon people are going to be better about how much time they're spending on it, about how much control they have. Like our generation is a generation that has to adapt to the new technology. We're going to be the generation that's like, okay, cool. Like you set a timer about how long you're going to be on it, like screen time and stuff. It's things that are available. So we are becoming conscious of it. And now it's more just like breaking that behavior. But you are really good about, not being on your phone and things. To end off the podcast, do you have any tips for people when it comes to social media, dealing with distractions and focus?
I would say that the biggest thing is just realizing that getting on your phone it really is a habit. Like you naturally reach for your phone. And so going back to our habit series, like every time you reach for your phone, just simply be aware of why you're reaching for it. Like literally just ask yourself, okay, what am I about to do on my phone? Yeah. Because then you'll be like, am I going to, like, why, do you have a specific reason to be on your phone?
Are you
like
just doing the typical habitual checkup?
Are you just checking? And like, that doesn't mean like, don't check your phone. Like I check my phone, like did someone text me? Like I'm not trying to be rude, like, whatever. Like I want to respond within a decent amount of time, but like the only people, like if you call me, I have my phone on Do Not Disturb. The only people that goes through, like, as I have like favorites, is my mom and my dad, and like I have rings for them too. So it's like because like they're my mom and my dad. Like I want to hear them immediately and like text them back, because like that's and everyone else, it's like I know you guys understand. Like if you text me and I respond in half an hour, like you're not gonna be like, why? Like you're just gonna be like, that's just Ben, and it doesn't really have an effect on our plans usually.
I will say though, like asking yourself, why am I doing this?
It's going to help a lot.
Biggest thing, and we did talk about this in our habit series. It's just like the why, the purpose, the reasoning. It's something that's so huge, because even for me, when I'm trying to, because I finally like broken off, like I barely use Snapchat. Like I turned off the notifications for it. I turned off my notifications for most social media.
And that's one thing, turning off notifications will help you a lot.
Yes. Don't let your phone control you. We need to be in control of our phone. If your phone buzzes and you within seconds, it doesn't even finish the buzz and you already picked it up, like your phone owns you. Your phone owns you. So asking yourself why, because when I was scrolling through Snapchat, I'm looking at people's stories, like, why am I looking at this person's story? Like what does it do for me? Like, what has this actually, like, who is this person? Like, sometimes you'll literally be like, scroll through Instagram, who is this person? Scroll through Twitter, what are you tweeting? So like asking yourself, like, right now at the time, could you be doing something better than what you're doing, scrolling and checking? Like, does that have more value? Does that have more purpose than what you're supposed to be doing at that time?
Absolutely. And to be clear, we're not like hating on social media at all. Like, social media does have some key benefits in connecting people long distances. Like I snap people that I don't see or talk to regularly, but just seeing their face on Snap is like, okay, like we're still in touch, even though like we're not that close. You know what I mean? But at the same time, just realizing that like the majority of the time when you're on social media, you're probably near someone, or you could be doing something better just for your happiness in general. That doesn't mean you have to be productive, but maybe you could be learning a new skill, or just hanging out with a friend and really connecting with them, instead of poring over how many likes you have or how many posts you have or whatever it is. Like, and so just to be clear, we're not knocking social media like to the extent that you should just totally delete it, but you should just be aware of, like we said in the habit series, the opportunity cost and what's actually happening when you're on your phone.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I feel like I learned a lot today. I really liked how we just kind of broke down what we thought too, because like it's interesting to hear out what you have to say, and I
No.
know you sometimes you find my profound thoughts pretty interesting as well.
Yeah,
But
some good thoughts.
so I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode of the what's this series again?
This is the happiness series.
The happiness series. I'm so happy I forgot the name, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the happiness series. We have 2 more, or maybe 3,
maybe even 3.
maybe 3 more
We have
episodes.
lots more coming.
Happiness is a big topic
It's a
to hit
wide
on,
range topic.
and we definitely want to make sure we hit on everything and try to give you guys the best what we research and just kind of what we think, and for you to find your happiness, find what truly makes you happy, and use all of this, everything we've said, to kind of evaluate your life and rethink, like, what am I doing that's making me happy? Am I taking advantage of all the things around me? Am I making those meaningful connections? Maybe call your mom, call your dad if it's been a while. But that's been everything for this episode of the Adapt or Die podcast. Catch y'all next episode. Peace.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Adapt or Die podcast.
For more information about us, follow us on Instagram at Adapt or Die, or find us on TikTok at AOD Podcast. You can also watch the podcast on our YouTube channel at AOD Co, spelled AODCO.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, continue to explore and adapt.